The second part of the introduction to the graphing calculator explains how to generate a table that's associated with a graph or an equation. And a table is basically a long list of points that lie on the graph. So we're going to go back to the first example I did in graphing, and that was y equals negative 2x minus 1. So just a little reminder about how to get that. I'm going to go into y equals. I'm going to press negative 2. The x button is in the second row here, and then minus 1. And then I'm going to press graph, and I've set a standard window to do that. And that's the equation that the graph that we saw before. It's got a slope of negative 2, and it's got a y-intercept of negative 1. And that is a squiggly line, but that's because I'm using a freehand. If you want to see the straight line, it's over here on the calculator. So it turns out that at the same time your calculator is generating this graph, inside your calculator it's also generating a table of points for what all of these little dots coordinates are. So how do we see where the table is? Well, the first thing I need to do is set up my table for what I want to see. So I'm going to go over here to table set. And table setup is right above window over here, but because it's in blue on my screen, I need to press the second button first. So I'm going to press second and then window, and that will take me into table setup. This says negative 2. I actually want my table to start at 0, so I'm going to type a 0 in. That means that the first x value in my table is going to be 0. And then delta, the little triangle stands for delta. Delta table is how much the x values change by. And then I want my calculator to automatically generate the independent and dependent values. Independent is x value, dependent is y value. So now I'm going to view the table. This is just the table setup. To view the table, that's right here above graph. And table is in blue, so again I'm going to press the second button first and then graph. And you'll notice that my x values are starting at 0 like I asked it to. So I can come over here, and in my table here I can put 0, negative 1, 1, negative 3, 2, negative 5. And again, what your calculator is doing is it's taking this x value, plugging it into the equation, and figuring out what the y value is, and then putting it in there for you. Now, this has an x value of negative 2 and negative 1, so I just wanted to show you that you can use these arrow keys to scroll up as far as you want, and it will give you the values you need. So an x value of negative 2 has a y value of 3, and an x value of negative 1 has a y value of 1. So this is an example of a table where my x values are automatically generating my y values and my x values are changing by 1. Now, you might want to have different x values. Maybe you're working a problem where your x values aren't nice, neat integers or whole numbers, and you might need some decimals. So if you wanted to create a table for that, if you wanted to create this table that's right here on this paper, you could see that the first x value is negative 4.5, and these values here appear to be changing by 3/10. So I can go into my table setup, which again is above window, and instead of my table starting at negative 1, I would want my table to start at negative 4.5. Oops, not 45, 4.5. And these x values are changing by 0.3, so I want my delta table, my change in my table, to be 0.3. Then if I go into my table itself, again, this is just the table setup screen. The table itself is above graph, so I'm going to press second table, and now you can see that I've got the x values matching and the calculator is automatically generating what I need. So I've got a y value of 8, a y value of 7.4, 6.8, etc. And then the last thing I'll show you how to do with the table is maybe you want the y values for sort of random x values, not x values that change by a specific amount. So what if I wanted the y values that go with these random values here that don't seem to have a constant change in x? Well, it turns out that you can set your table to wait for you to type in the x value. And the way I do that, again, is in table setup. So I'm going to come over here to second, and above window is table setup. And instead of having the calculator automatically generate my x values, which are my independent variables, I'm going to set this over here to the right. I'm going to say my independent variable should be in ask mode, which means it's just going to sit there and wait. It's asking me to type in an x value. So I pressed enter to move that over to ask. Now I'm going to go back into the table. See how it's blank? When it's blank, it's waiting for me to type in an x value. So over here on my document, I've got an x value of negative 3.71. So if I come over here and type it in, negative 3.71, then I press enter. That goes in the x value of my table, and then that turns out to be a y value of 6.42. And then notice that it's down here at the next line. I can type in my next value, 0.4. That's negative 1.8. I can type in the next value, 12.8. And the last value of 142. Oops, I missed the 1. Okay, so that's the way that you randomly generate things. If you fill up all of your x values and you want to clear them out, you can just press delete, and that will get rid of all of them. So that's how you generate tables on your calculator.